second. So.
All right. Well, let's go up there. I'll see you there.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Sorry if I stopped in your language.
That's right. It's fine.
Is it? I can see a circle around your name, but I don't hear you.
Yeah, I'm not speaking.
Oh, how are we doing?
So
Good, thanks. How are you?
Would you mind recording us and putting out announcement?
I have. I was just about to tell you guys I have started recording because I think this is what you both wanted. So yes, I have. It is now being recorded. You want me to put out a ping?
I mean, why not? Maybe somebody will join.
Sure. So I mean, like, I don't know what this is about. Like, what are you guys discussing?
It's about veganism. The Thought Bat, or just Bat, had 2 debates or 2 discussions with David Rams, and I was quite unhappy with his performance. And to, I don't know, prove to Dave that he should debate me, I decided to maybe debate him.
Alright, sounds fair enough. Thought Bat, are you okay with this being recorded?
I'm perfectly fine with it being recorded. No issues.
Alright, no worries then. So, yeah, alright, if this is what you guys want, I will put out a ping and let people know that you're having a bit of a discussion in here. I'm not entirely sure what the debate prop is, but it doesn't really matter. It's roughly around veganism, so Connan is having a... It'll just take me a second to pair this with Thought Bat on veganism. I think that's probably all I'm going to say. Is that okay with you guys? Because it's at everyone, so...
Yeah, it doesn't need anything more. That will probably draw some people.
Okay.
They understand it's about veganism.
In debate 2, I will put, because as you know, debate room 1 functions a bit different. I'll say, is it okay if I say all welcome?
Yes, of course.
Okay. No, right. There you go. Right, so as I say, this is being recorded. There's the ping gone out, so yeah, you guys just discuss away. Do whatever you want.
Okay, let's start. Yeah, so I want to. Well, I initiated. I asked you to debate me, so I will probably start if that's okay with you.
That's fine, go on.
Yeah, so as I said, I believe that Dave got you on pretty nice, and I watched both your debates. I think that you were actually holding out really good until he. Oh, hi, pardon. Until he. I don't want to say built emotions, but I think that he effectively disarmed you by saying that he's not a philosophy channel. But I would like to propose that.
Zoom, what's up, my boy? How you doing?
Hey, Brad, there's a debate going on, so...
What are they debating about?
Veganism, but...
This is being recorded, so please.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so in your second talk with him, I see that he urged you to debate non-vegans, so I decided to give you a chance. So I yield the floor.
Okay, so regarding the debate I had with David Rams, the topic of the debate was initially supposed to be on animal rights. Now, I wasn't convinced on any argument for animal rights, as I think you can probably tell, because David didn't seem to want to go down the path, despite that being the topic of the debate. However, he did put that debate aside. I think I gave my account of why I didn't think animals had rights, and to be honest, I don't think David had an answer to it. However, that debate was put aside, and we went into why I actually wasn't vegan. And so David seemed to highlight some inconsistencies with my value judgments. So, for example, I don't value animal abuse, and I define animal abuse as the unnecessary infliction of violence towards animals. So, and that's kind of standard for my valuation of not hurting animals was then applied to my general behaviour with regards to my consumption. So I eventually conceded that it's not in line with my value judgments to continue to consume animal products. So that's why I am where I am now.
Yes, I would certainly agree that he has any argument against your argument. I would also fully agree that animals don't have rights. So I also believe that humans don't have rights as inalienable natural rights, which are talked about in things like constitutions and rights of man and such documents. I believe that what those documents describe as rights are simple laws and ideals. I believe that morality. I don't know. Can you stay? I did hear that you were utilitarianist and that you abandoned utilitarianism. So, would you like to say what is your current base for moral thinking?
I'm an egoist, so I judge all things according to how I value them. So, I think that sums it up fairly well. So as long as it benefits me, I think it's good. If it doesn't benefit me, then I want no part of it. I'm not interested in it.
Yes, I would probably also, if I would have to put a normative view, call myself egoist, but I also believe in objective reality of morals. And I believe that under those morals, that animals are not morally significant. And well, that's my main argument against veganism. Which what I would propose and what I try to propose to David, that the topic of our discussion would be is that I'm looking for a reason not to quote unquote abuse animals or simply to say kill them. And I was never given one. I think you can recognize that using animals produces benefit for me and probably for you. And I don't see why I should give up that benefit for no other gain.
Okay, so you said animals don't have moral significance. Do you apply that? Right across the board, the non-human animal kingdom?
Yes.
So, would you be happy if I was to go around killing pollinators?
I wouldn't be happy, but as long as you do that in a capacity which would not endanger me, I would have no problem with it.
So, therefore, I went on a mission and I got some other people together and said, right, we're going to try and exterminate all pollinators in the world.
Yeah, and
I
also
assume that you.
I also I would have a problem with you destroying personal property, like bees that are personal property, of course.
Oh, sorry. Forget. Okay, let's say all wild bees. I'm gonna wipe out the vast majority of insects. Sorry, pollinators, which are not owned by any particular person. So effectively, I've made pollination an incredibly difficult thing to occur.
If it does not affect me,
Would affect you.
well, it would affect me.
Of course, you would because you would not be able to eat grow crops. That's my point. So that's why we apply moral value towards pollinators. That's why we have protections for bees and things like that. It's in our own self-interest to have those protections for bees. It's a mutual thing as well. That's why we have those.
Yeah, but I would also argue that it is the extension of them being the property of the state.
To the state.
Yeah, like every wild animal in most states are the property of the state.
Okay, but the reason isn't because it's the property of the state. It's because of the role they play in our ecology, isn't it?
It is because the state recognizes that and places them at its protection as property.
Well, if we remove the state, if we have my society, which is an anarchist society, and we would still apply moral value judgment on pollinators. Because I don't think the reason that you're opposed to me going around wiping out the vast majority of pollinators is because the state owns them. I think it's more to do with the fact that they play a vital role in our crop produce.
Well, maybe, but even if you kill pollinators, the moral issue wouldn't be that you kill pollinators, it is that you damaged me. I'm the one that is hurt, not it is not, I have the moral value. I mean humans, but when I say I mean humans, but not the pollinators. You would be doing damage to me. It would be the same like you poisoning the well, the village well. It is not the well that is valuable. It is the fact that it is a resources. It is a resource that I count on and that I don't want to say own, but that that is vital for me. And if you destroy that resource, you damage me.
Exactly. So you make value judgments according to what benefits you, and so therefore you need to apply moral value to bees and
No, I
pollinators.
don't.
You do.
No,
Because if
I
I got
don't.
if you do, because if I got rid of them all, you wouldn't be able to eat or grow crops,
Yeah,
and you wouldn't
if
be
you
able to survive.
if you poisoned all the water, I wouldn't be able to drink. But that doesn't mean that
So
water have moral significance.
it does have moral significance because you're applying you're applying a moral value judgment onto the purity of the lack of toxicity within the water.
No, I'm applying moral judgment to your action of destroying the resource, not to the object that you are destroying.
The reason you're having you hold those views is because you are making a moralistic value judgment with regard to your self-interest about the purity of the cleanliness of the water as it benefits you.
It is
Understand?
about it is about you destroying the resource. I'm judging your actions. I'm not judging the value. The resource has value, but that value is not moral value. It is economical value, same as a bee. But if you destroy it, it is not because you did damage like against something that is morally significant. I mean, you did, but you did not do because you damaged the object. You did it because you damaged me.
So if we say that morality is with regards to our valuations regarding good or bad actions, and
Okay,
for you attacking pollinators is a bad action, I would then say by our definitions that it is a morally bad thing to do for you.
no, I would not use. First, can we agree not to use bad and good because those words don't really have any meaning. Like they are not specific enough for discussions of this magnitude.
No, I disagree. I'd say bad and good are very relevant terms. Good implies something that you value, something that you want, and bad implies something that you don't value, something that you want to avoid.
In discussion of morality, I would prefer to use moral, amoral, immoral.
Okay, I'd use amoral and immoral interchangeably with good and bad, but that's semantics.
Okay,
We can move on.
amoral. That's
We
not
could,
amoral.
okay, so
it does not concern morality. That is very important for my argument. So
So we can move on then, and I will use the terms moral and immoral and amoral the way you'd like me to.
Okay, sure. I mean, if that's a bit problem for you, but no problem. But again, I believe that you would be uh, damaging the resource that is our both shared property, and that you would be damaging me. It is not that you are damaging. It will be same as you damage any other property. That is, if you burn out the forest, it is not a problem that the forest is more valuable. It is I who use that forest, who are at a loss, and who is the victim of morality.
Thing is, I agree. So, give it to just to help me explain my position. I'm going to give you an hypothetical, well, an analogy. So, I live in a house, and that house is very important to me for shelter purposes. If I didn't have the house, I'd be living a considerably worse life. Therefore, um, I have a moral value judgment on that house. It is in my self-interest to maintain that house. It is not in my self-interest to negate or neglect the house or allow someone else to occupy it. So I am placing a moral value judgment onto the house. Now, if you destroyed the house, yes, it's not for the house's sake; it's for my sake. It's bad not for the house's sake, but it's bad for my sake. But it's still my moral value judgment. Do you see what I mean now?
I understand, but I don't think that. I think that what the point of contention is that I would certainly value my house, but I don't, and I would certainly be morally offended if somebody damaged it. But I don't think that I have a moral obligation towards my house. I don't think that
Well,
house is the thing that has uh, moral value out as itself.
I wouldn't say moral obligations because that would imply that the house has rights, which I would agree is absurd. But I would say is you said you were negress before. You judge morality according to your own
No,
self-interest.
I
So
said if I would have to be prescribed a subjective view, which I don't actually hold. I hold only, and I only proclaim when talking about morality, because I think that I understand morality a bit differently than
okay,
most
so
people. I only do descriptive claims and descriptive, and I only have descriptive views on morality.
you only have descriptive views on morality. So
Yeah, can I spend a
yeah,
moment to explain it to you?
yeah.
Okay, so I believe that morality is basically, I believe in a version of evolutionary psychology. I believe that moral instinct, and from which later morality was, I don't want to say formed, but morality is observable system of moral instincts uh, that you can expect, that you encounter in quote unquote the wild. I mean, nature, but we are part of nature. We are currently in natural environment. But I believe, yes, that it is that is evolutionary trait which governs interhuman behavior, particularly with and that moral instinct being innate knowledge of simple rule of interhuman behavior, and that is not to harm other humans. Of course, not harming you, because what how morality uh, enforces itself and how it managed to win the evolutionary race is that those who did not display it got killed. And that is probably why, because today most people, I don't want to say all, because there is always a genetic anomaly, but why most people do have moral instinct. And
So
all I'm trying to do is describe that moral instinct.
So you're effectively studying what people find valuable, rather than what they should find valuable.
Yes, from evolutionary perspective, of course.
Okay.
Because I don't believe that there is any truth to be gained from subjective morality. I believe that it's just philosophical bullshit.
You think morality itself is philosophical bullshit?
No, I believe that when philosophers came to, they were very interested in observing the world, explaining how how the world works, and they observed this pattern of behavior in humans, and they called it morality. And in lack of a theory of evolution, they prescribed it and tried to describe it with various things like virtues, like utilitarianism, like God commandments, blah blah. But I believe that with evolution, that all those views are obsolete, and there is a reason why for 2,500 years people did not agree, because none of those ever fit the bill.
Okay, so but when considering things like rather than the study of what people do find to be good or bad or moral or immoral, I think the important discussion to have here is what are good or bad actions. That's the more relevant conversation.
Why?
So, and that's why what I talk about when I say morality. I'm talking about the discussion of what is a good action or a bad action, or sorry, a moral or immoral action.
Yeah, when you use the terms, I think that good and bad would be more appropriate, because if you use subjective morality, I can simply reject it and say that's your opinion. You understand why
Oh, no,
subjective morality doesn't get us anywhere?
no, I don't. I don't agree with that, because saying that morality is effectively derived from our own ideas about the world and what we consider to be good or bad. I don't think it's only down to opinion. I don't think subjective is equal to arbitrary. So, for example, I hope if I say it's not moral to jump into a fire because it's not good for you, it's not going to
Maybe it is good for you.
not going well. It's not good for you. It physically ends you,
So
or it
maybe
harms
you
you.
want to be ended.
If you want to be ended, then yes,
Okay, so
ethics
you
don't apply.
understand. So I
Ethics don't
understand.
apply.
So you understand how
No,
this is getting us, not two of us, but us as humanity nowhere.
it doesn't get humanity nowhere, because ethics are with concern for what makes your life valuable. That's what the ultimate goal of your actions are, is to improve your life. However, if your aim is to end your life, then ethics no longer apply to you.
Well, I would agree that it does. If you want to end your life by driving a plane full of passengers into a mountain, then yes, I would believe that still morality applies. So I would still judge that as a moral action.
No, I'm not talking about how exactly you end. I'm talking about um, the actions you take in order to live a valuable life. So if you don't want to live a valuable life, then that kind of thing doesn't apply to you anymore.
I believe that you are biologically programmed to seek to do what you think would net you the greatest benefit. If that greatest benefit is to die, then you will seek to die. If you want to live, you want to procreate, that's what you will do.
You don't benefit from dying. You cease to exist. You can't benefit from not existing,
Yes, of
because
course you can.
there's
If you
no
believe that
there's no
if you
one to
believe
benefit at that point.
well, if you believe that you would be more that you would suffer less than if you die, because you believe that you would have a negative experience going on, then it is in your interest to die.
Unfortunately, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in life after death.
No,
So
it doesn't need to be life after death. You can simply die not to suffer anymore.
that's out of the lack of a value for life. It's not from
Well, why would
value
you
for death.
value life? There is no reason for me to value anything. You understand?
Are you saying that as you are right now, or are you saying that as part of the hypothetical for someone who wants to commit suicide?
That is a philosophical discussion. There is no need. There is no reason for you to do anything other than to die. And there is no reason for you to value, as you put it, to value anything. I think that you said something like that in your last discussion with David, that simply life is worth living because the point of living the life is what is keeping you from killing yourself.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I would agree. I don't think that there is a great philosophical secret in that. That is exactly what I said. You would do what you believe that would net you the greatest benefit. I believe that you are genetically programmed to do so. I don't see any point of contention there.
I agree that we are genetically or biologically programmed to do what we do, because I think we are biologically.
Of course we are.
That I don't think that means a lot in terms of how we understand ethics, is it? Because as I said before, if we agree that we value the life our lives as they are, then
That's why
we're
we
valued.
agree on that.
Well, if you don't value your life, then you'll surely in the process of killing yourself right now. If you're not killing yourself and you do value life,
we can agree that you and I are valuing life, but I don't believe that there is any good reason for us to value lives. When I say good reason, I see something that is objectively valuable.
I'm not talking about objectively valuable. I'm talking about your own value judgments. I think this is probably where we're coming at it from different angles, because I'm talking about subjective ethics is regarding the subject, what's beneficial to the subject, as in me in this case. So what is beneficial to me is going to be what improves my value, my quality of life. So jumping into a fire wouldn't be that. It doesn't. Jumping into a fire, objectively, let's say, has no benefit to my life.
Maybe it does. Maybe by jumping into a fire, you would save the entire universe and you would be regarded as a hero for all time. And maybe you value that more than you value your life or the pain that you would feel in the fire. So maybe it is worth for you jumping into the fire.
I wouldn't, even in that instance, it's because it's not for you. It's for the universe.
It is for you. It is for your own feeling of great. I don't want to say honor, but greatness of self, for your own ego, because your ego will be such a boost to you that you are willing to die for it.
Okay, but do you understand how that it doesn't benefit your life because you no longer have a life?
Well, it does benefit your life greatly. That is the action that will give you the most benefit. Jumping
literally
into the
ended
fire. Yeah, so
it doesn't benefit your life.
The benefit that you have in that moment is immeasurable.
In the moment, but not life. It's ending your life. Like, okay, so, you're sacrificing yourself for a greater cause, but it's not benefiting your life.
Yeah, it is benefiting you. You
literally self-sacrifice.
Yeah, and you are self-sacrificing because of your own pleasure. Because what you do is such a great is of such great value to you that you do that. It is
so
not. It is not.
It's not out of a value for your life. It's out of the opposite, because you are making
not for your life, for your
you're saying
for your preferences. That is your preference. You have the greatest benefit that you would get if you jump into the fire.
So you don't benefit it.
How not?
Let me explain. You're not benefiting it because you're no longer there. You can't benefit from something if you don't exist. However, just a case of you valuing something else over your existence. It's not derived to benefit you. It's you placing a higher value judgment on the universe than continued existence.
Yeah,
If you
but
say, well,
at
the
the end
universe
of
is
the
going to
day,
become, if you say the universe is going to become a living hell if I don't jump into this fire, then you're just not valuing your life anymore, are you?
yeah,
So
but at the end of the day,
it's not
you would
ethics
do
don't apply.
that for yourself because you value things, and if you place greater value on the universe, and you would do that for your own pleasure, of knowing that the universe would survive, and that is why you would do it, because that would net you the greatest benefit.
Again, I disagree because you can't know you've
I
saved the
say that
universe once you're dead.
I said that you do what you believe would net you the greatest benefit.
It's of no benefit to you.
Well, it is.
Okay, so I think we're going back and forth on this quite a lot, and we're going around in circles. On
Okay,
that point, I think we can move on from there.
Let's go back to veganism. That's why we are here.
So, you said that you wouldn't kick dogs for fun.
I think that kicking the dog for fun is completely amoral. I simply don't have any wish to do so.
Okay, so let's leave aside the amorality and immorality for now, because we've gone down that path.
Okay.
I'm not here to make any argument to say that you are objectively obliged to be vegan, because that's not what I'm here for. I don't believe in objective immorality. But I will ask you on your value judgments. Why don't you value kicking a dog for fun?
I simply have no impulse to kick the dog.
Because you have no impulse to kick the dog.
Yeah, I also have no impulse to fuck a man in the butt.
Okay, doke. So, but you said you had reasons for actively avoiding kicking the dog.
No, I'm looking for a reason not to.
Looking for a reason not to kick the dog.
Yeah. I mean, there is probably some reason why to not kick the dog. I mean, dog
If I said it was not the best,
but I have no reason not to kill a cow by buying a steak. There is no danger, personally, for me.
So, if someone was, so you wouldn't pay someone to kick a dog?
There is no benefit for me to kicking a dog. I don't get any pleasure from it. So why would I do it?
I don't know why you do it. Would you pay someone to kick a cow?
Will I get any benefit from it?
Would not.
Well, if no, then probably I wouldn't. If I would, then probably I would.
If someone was kicking a cow, would you try and stop them?
No.
So they're in the room with you, and they are, well, not in the room, but they're in the field. They start attacking the cow, maybe doing some horrible torture shit to it. You wouldn't stand there. You wouldn't sit there and think, "Oh, what's he doing? This is a bit weird." It's a live cow. It's there screaming in pain.
Yeah, is it their cow? So is it proper?
Is it their cow? Yeah. Okay, let's say So let's say it's their cow.
Yeah, I don't.
And they are.
I would look the other way.
They're keeping it alive, and they're so you wouldn't question whether or not this act is good for their mental health.
For whose
Or
mental
perhaps the actors, or maybe even yours. You're witnessing this.
Yeah, I would turn around and I would probably forget it in like 2 minutes. I mean, there is a lot of bad shit happening in this world, so.
I mean, yeah, there is a lot of bad shit happening in this world, but it doesn't mean we just ignore it.
For the most part, we do.
Right? Can you repeat that?
For the most part, we do.
But it's not good that we do, is it?
Well,
as in if we just allow it to continue, then
I don't want to make a judgment what is good and what is bad as such.
So, if a cow was a human, then so it was their child, let's say, and they were hitting the child, would you
Yes.
object to it? Yes, you would object to it.
Yes.
Why would you object to it?
Because they are doing an immoral act.
Is it immoral?
Yes, it is.
So,
The child
why is it immoral?
The child is morally significant because they are breaking, as I said, I believe in objective evolutionary morality. And under those circumstances, I can elaborate further if you would like. Uh,
Do.
Every person, including the child, is morally significant.
So, why is a human child morally significant?
Because humans evolved. A morality to govern interhuman behavior, and they would do, and especially in the way of not harming other humans. Those who break the rules get punished, or can expect to be punished. And I specifically say harm because there is a different sort that I don't want to say you, but which most people would campaign with that, and that is help, like somebody. But that is, I believe, I call that other one help law of mutual aid, and I believe that those are governed by different rules, and they are enforced differently, and they are an older form of I don't want to say this evolutionary trait, but it is lower on the evolutionary scale, and it is very apparent in many animal species. But it is not what is important and what morality is. Morality is specifically uh, concerned with harm.
Specifically concerned with harm.
Yes.
So you say you talk from evolutionary morality.
Yes.
Do you I'm just asking, like, not to put words in your mouth, but do you subscribe to social Darwinism?
Not particularly. I think there is many faults in that theory.
Okay.
I don't subscribe to any specific philosopher or any other thinker's point of view. I only hold my own.
Okay. So if morality is about harm, it's only concerned with not harming others. Would it be okay if I was to kill the child, but not inflict any harm on them?
Well, harm is killing. Killing is harm. Whereas what it is hard to point down the meaning of the word harm, but what would you be doing? You would be ending the child's life. Would be considered. I don't want to use the word bad, but what would be considered harm? I don't believe that. Maybe you wanted to say if child suffered particularly or something like that, but you will definitely be harming it because at the end of the day, what is significant to evolution is your ability to survive and procreate. I don't want to say that it would be only considered survival and procreation because when morality involved, it wouldn't be so cut and dry. But yeah, harming would be a term that would be more appropriate to use, and killing would definitely be a part of it.
Okay, so you're against harming other humans because of evolutionary benefit.
No, I'm not against it. I'm simply saying that I'm simply describing how morality is as I see it. If you want to point it out differently, I'm very happy to listen to how would you describe morality as it exists.
Um, I don't want to go back into the morality argument again, but I'm asking you if you are against. You said you work against killing children, which I hope for because of objective moral, the objective ethical framework which you propose. It's about human evolution and
Yes.
well, what was it? But so it seems to me you're playing two cards at once with the.
How so?
Well, because you're saying I don't ascribe moral value judgments because it's merely descriptive. When I said, "Are you a?"
descriptive?
So if it's merely descriptive, as in humans just think this, it might not be right or wrong, but humans just think this. So let's just study what they think. If I was to start attacking a child and then you said, "Thought about stop doing that," would then be prescribing to me I shouldn't be attacking the child. So there is.
I wouldn't be using prescriptive. I would simply use. Sorry, I forgot the name. It is applied ethics. I would use applied ethics. I wouldn't use subjective ethics or normative ethics. I would simply apply my ethics.
Which means?
Which means I would probably shoot you.
Okay, so that's implying you have a gun and all the rest of it. So
yeah, I say so.
Okay, but
just for fun.
Okay. I think we're going to need to set up a hypothetical whereby we can't be watching the question. So, do you think humans can't think about what's good or what's bad?
I mean, they can, because as I said, what is good and what is bad is a meaningless term at the end of the day. It can be good or bad according to anything.
Okay, so when you shoot me for attacking children, why do you shoot me for attacking the child?
You broke the morality. You are no longer protected by it. You are at a danger to me, to the child, and to the society.
Not a danger to you at all. It's
You
just the child.
You injured my moral intuition. My moral intuition triggered me to act.
So are you saying that you have no control over your actions and don't think about them beforehand?
I said it triggered me to act. And
right.
I decided to act because what I see is in moral, it is in, I don't want to use a lot, but it is in both my personal understanding, it is in group's personal understanding of what is moral, any moral. I don't want to use good or bad, but for more people who are not used to discussing morality, I think that good and bad will be a more appropriate terms because they're vague and they simply describe how they would feel. But yes, there would be something that I think would also come to the approval of the group and which would provide me and everybody else the benefit of eliminating a dangerous being.
Right. Okay, but it still seems like we can't ask the question why. So let's say, let's change some things. Now you're paralyzed from the neck down. You can talk, but you can't do anything. And I'm attacking the child. You can't shoot me. You can't stop me physically.
Okay.
You can do is try and convince me to stop. First off, would you feel obliged to try and convince me to stop?
Well, I would be obliged to stop you by any means I could.
You can't. You're paralyzed. You're literally sat there watching me. You can only talk to me.
You is one of the means.
Discussing with me is one of the means. So if you say, "Thought Bat, stop attacking that child," I turn around and say, "Why?" What's your answer?
And I will give you the speech that I'm giving you right now.
So you'll talk to me about. You'll say humans think this is immoral because they are evolutionary programmed to do so.
Yes. What would you say in that? What would you say in that?
Say that's an appeal to nature fallacy, and I'd ignore you.
Well, I think that nature fallacy is a bit of a bosh, but okay. So what would you say? I'm very interested.
If I was in that situation and I was stuck in I was paralyzed.
You would say, "Oh, stop that, mate! That's wrong." And how is that any different than what I'm saying?
Ask him to consider his value judgments. I'd ask him to really consider what attacking that child brings to that person.
To the child.
No, no, not to the child, but to the person doing it.
Oh yeah, I could also do that. If you keep attacking the child, people will come and kill you, and they will
not even that. Like he's gonna not even that. Forget other people are there, or possibly going to find out about it. Because it's effectively going to be your word against his, and he might destroy all the evidence. He might even destroy you afterwards. You would really be trying to convince him to not even want to do the act. So you'd be saying to him or her, "Why do you want to do this?" And you'd be trying to encourage them to think deeply about why they want to abuse that child for their own sake. Like, is this really what you want?
What if he says it is because it brings me pleasure?
I'll say no. It doesn't bring you pleasure at all in the long run.
How can you know my feelings?
Because we understand that I can know your feelings because we understand that experiencing or committing violence, as in bloodthirsty violence, comes with a very high risk of developing mental illness.
Not to me.
What do you mean, not to you?
Well, what if I'm already mentally ill, or what you would consider mentally ill?
If you're already mentally ill to the point where you're a psychopath, then there is no reasoning with you, is there?
Yeah, of course.
The thing is, we are able to reason with each other.
Exactly what I'm saying. Your words would be meaningless. At least I have a chance to point out that somebody would come and kill us at the ranches.
The psychopath, they wouldn't care. They'd be happy with it.
Well, they could care, even if they don't have care for morality and feelings of others. They usually have their feelings for themselves.
What if they turn around to you and just say, "Well, I'm happy with that anyway," and
I'll
die an honourable fight.
In that case, both what you say and what I say is meaningless. So
yeah, in that case, if we're dealing with an unreasonable person, we can't use reason. But I'm talking about a reasonable person, someone who can be reasoned with.
Well, somebody can be reasoned with. I think that it would be easier to reason with them with my discussion than yours, because I can point out the objective facts, and you can only say that is bad. Why? Because I think it is bad.
It's not because I think it is bad. It's because I think it is inconsistent with your overall value judgments.
How can you know his overall values? He's beating a child.
Because
speak with you 1 hour before about
philosophy. Because I can just say, killing that child is nothing good for you, and it comes with a lot of
projecting.
No, it comes with
your own values to the person.
No, I'm saying if you have any value for your life or the quality of your life, attacking this child isn't going to do it. Just the same way as if you jump into this fire here, it's not going to value your life. It's not going to bring benefit to your life.
When you say life, I don't understand. What do you mean it will not bring benefit to your life? It could bring benefit. We already discussed that.
It doesn't, especially in the long term, because again,
long term is irrelevant. You can have more pleasure in 2 seconds than you can have in 1,000 years.
Okay, but I'm talking about the long term your overall quality of your life. I would rather, if I had immense pleasure for 2 seconds, I'm going to understand that there's a lot of seconds that is going to come after that, and so I'm going to have to value the future more than the present.
You will burn to death.
But when they're burning to death, they're going through extreme pain, I assume.
Yeah,
okay.
like 30 seconds or so.
Do you understand that to make your argument count, you have to make the very, very absurd assumption that someone's going to derive pleasure from jumping into a fire?
Well, there were many uh, uh, cases of that. There are many people who set themselves afire for their political goals.
For their political goals, but it's not for
Yeah,
themselves.
they did it for themselves because that action gave them the most expected pleasure.
So when they're there screaming and burning, do we think that person has made the right decision for themselves? Is that
Well,
are we really going to say that?
they made the right decision at the moment.
I think I'm
Because
just going
it
to
is
have to.
only a moment when you are making a decision, right? What will happen after, you don't know.
What
But
happened afterwards? He dies.
yeah, but you don't know what will happen after. You only know what will happen. You only expect what will happen in the moment in which you make the decision, right?
We
You
can
have
say
no
you
knowledge of the future. You
can
have
say
only
you
expectations of the future.
can say you don't know, so therefore you can't make any value judgments about it. You can't make value judgments about something you don't know about.
Yes, of course you can.
If I gave you a box and said, "Hey, you don't know what's inside this. Do you like it?"
I don't know.
You say I don't know. So
But if I give you a box and I say there is $1 million inside, would you like it?
you tell me there's $1 million inside it.
Yeah,
So I'd like it. Yeah, I'd love it.
yeah. And I said, if you open this box, you need to pay me $1, and whatever is inside is yours, and there is $1 million inside.
Okay, it's
And
fine.
would you give me $1?
That's fine.
Yeah, there is nothing inside the light. You made a decision on the available information, and you did what you expected that would be the most benefit to you.
But in terms of life and death, or so in terms
It
of
is the
killing
same
yourself,
principle. It is
it's
the
not
same
the same
principle
principle
as
at all
every.
because
Yes,
you
it is.
don't know, because heaven is not a guaranteed result of it, or reincarnation into a happy
No,
life.
I'm not even talking about afterlife. I don't actually believe in afterlife. It is simply that in that moment, let's say, uh, let's pick a bit more uh, example. It is more a bit more down to earth. So there is a squad of soldiers, and there is a grenade thrown in, and a person decides to jump on the grenade. He did it because that would, at that point, give them the most pleasure because he values the other's life over his, and he did it because that would give him the most pleasure. So that is why he jumped onto the grenade.
The person's jumping onto the grenade because they know that they're going to die anyway,
Yes,
and
of course.
so the grenade's there. It's about to blow up. They know they're going to die anyway, and then they, in that moment, have a feeling and say, "Look, I'm going to go anyway. But if I am going to go, I'm going to go saving these people's lives." Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and then okay, let's even
Right, but
okay, let's
but
switch.
you understand how the situation hasn't actually got worse for this person.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
not. It's
okay. I admit that's maybe not the best example, but it would be the same if you were, I don't know, a Buddhist monk setting yourself afire.
so if a Buddhist monk came to me and said, "Told me to set myself on fire," and he promised me that it will give me all the pleasure in the world, first I'd ask for evidence.
You don't
Two,
need. I mean, it is not about you putting yourself afire. It is about him putting himself afire, and he doesn't need evidence. He has beliefs that that would be the best for him because
right, okay.
he
So
values other things more than his life, and he's in full. It is fully his right to do so.
I suppose he's within his right to do so, but I would still say though that just because you think something is going to give you a positive result, doesn't mean we ourselves cannot make an understand a not derive an understanding of how that is actually going to affect that person. So if a Buddhist monk said, right, I'm going to set myself on fire, I'm sure, well, I will, and I'm pretty sure you will, stand there and say, hey, but doing this is not going to give you eternal glory.
Well,
We both know what burning yourself alive implies. But he thinks it's going to give him an eternity of pleasure, which we know is probably BS.
well, who am I to say what others should or should not do?
Well, you are a rational thinking person, and you can argue that there is no evidence whatsoever
Yeah, but I mean, nobody
for
else is
this
him.
afterlife.
It is his. I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't have any ideas. But whatever he does because that holds the greatest value to him. And I cannot argue that you should not do that, even though you expect the greatest pleasure for yourself. It would be irrational for you to go with the options that does not provide the greatest benefit to you, right?
Okay, I'm a little bit concerned that we might end up going just round and round in circles. It's been a very polite discussion, so thanks to both of you for that. Are you guys open to taking a couple of questions from the audience? It's not the biggest
Yes, we
room
are.
that we've ever had, but there's a few people in the chat, and I think at least some of them want to ask some questions. Are you guys cool with that?
Can we go
I'm
back
fine
to
with that.
can we go back to veganism first for like 10 minutes?
If you want to, yeah, close some stuff off by all means, and then we'll shift it into Q&A just for the sake of the recording, because as I said, I am recording. After the recording's done, you can do what you want. You can discuss for like 500 hours. I don't care.
Okay,
Enough.
so Bet, now when you are a bit more familiarized with my philosophy, do you see any reason for me to stop abusing and killing animals?
So I just want to, before I get onto that, I just want to make a final point about what we were talking about before. So let's say a person is going to walk through a door, and they say they really want to walk through a door. I believe that there is a chest of gold at the other side of this door. You've already taken a peek, and you know that it's full of booby traps, and as soon as they walk through that door, they're going to, let's say, burn alive for the sake of this conversation. Would you say that it's only down to their value judgment? Who are we to say that it's not a good idea to walk through that door, no matter how much that person wants to walk through that door, and we know the consequences for that are going to be bad?
But it is irrelevant what we know. It is only relevant what the person knows. Person can only make decisions based on the information they have. And in that kind of setting, they always do pick what they think is the best for them.
Yeah, but we know it's not best for them, don't we?
Yeah, but what do we care? I mean, if I can warn the person, then I would warn the person, and the person will have additional information, and they can make a reassessment of their judgment, make a new judgment. But if I cannot warn the person, I mean, it is still the best thing for that person to do, to go with what they believe is the best, because there is nothing else that they can do. They cannot do, and they never do go with what they expect would give them the less value than what they than the option. If you have option B and option A, and option A gives you better than option B, you will never ever get with the option B. You will always go with the option A. Because
They would, but
yes, of course.
I'm addressing the problem of how can you possibly know which action is going to bring more benefits to the person?
Again,
I'm just giving you an example where we can know that and we can explain that. So going back to the hypothetical with a child, it would be the case of, I know that this does not bring long-term benefits to you. It also brings long-term.
but you cannot know that because you are not in the mind of that person.
You do know that because it comes with a severe risk of developing mental illness.
So what?
That's not.
I mean,
So it doesn't benefit their life in the long term.
Again, person might already be mentally ill. You did not know that person. You did not spend it an hour and a half with that person discussing philosophy. You were walking down, you saw a person beating a child in the field. That is your hypothetical. You know nothing. How can you do? How can you make any value judgment from the position of that person? You cannot. Maybe even that child killed his whole family. You don't know anything.
The thing is, you would assume that most people are rational thinkers. So in that instance, you would be able to make those judgments, and based on the assumption that most people are reasonable, they're not mentally ill. If they are mentally ill, then they cannot be reasoned with by either of our objections, because that's just how it is. So all the way, and the whole reason I've gone down this route is because I'm talking about participating in excessive violence. I'm talking about being comfortable, whether or not we are comfortable with violence taking place on the scale that it is on a mass level. And I'm also asking us, are we really comfortable in funding such an industry which causes so much violence and stuff? All that's different. All that's separated from our direct participation, and would have severe mental health defects, and things that we don't value in life. And what we are doing now is simply the number of steps that take place between those things. We are simply asking ourselves, are we comfortable with that taking place on our behalf? And that is me done until questions from the audience.
Okay, I want to ask a few more questions. So when you say...
well, hang on, Connan, sorry, but like he said, he's done until it's question time, so you can have a closing statement, absolute maximum of 5 minutes.
Okay, I was not convinced to go vegan. I think that people always do what they think would be the best for them. And I believe I have nobody and right, or I don't have any position that I can say to anyone what some person should do. I can only give advice. It is on the persons to take it or not. I can, and when it comes to the mental health of meat industry workers, they are free to quit their jobs. I mean, that risk in meat industry, same as there is a risk that you will fall off the roof of the house when you are a roofer. That is the risk that goes with the job. Thank you.
All right, superb. Thank you for your closings, guys. So we're going to open it up to Q&A. Sorry, wasn't expecting this evening. It's a bit impromptu, but whoever wants to mic up with a question, just be clear as to who your question is for, even if you think it's obvious. Just state who it's for, ask your question, and then let them respond, please.
Yeah, no problem. Can anyone hear me, by the way? Can you hear me, SE?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I just wanted to, so yeah, I just wanted to ask a quick question for Thought Bat. I think the conversation was overall interesting, and we might talk a little after this, but I think what I've sort of noticed, at least from what I've heard a little bit towards the end, is like the assumption that even if everyone has their own subjective framework, you can sort of appeal to some shared moral intuitions. And I sort of like would definitely want to poke at that. Like, to what extent you think that moral intuitions go? Like, do you think that everyone's moral intuitions like goes as far as saying that we fundamentally believe that harming animals for food is wrong, or is it just like some general harm principles that you think we ought to expand? Because like if you're saying that there's a shared moral intuition of like some sort of harm, then I guess that would be kind of weird that like the vast majority of planet still eats meat. So I guess I would just ask you in a general sense, what do you think people's moral intuitions are as far as moral status of animals or consuming animals for food, and how do you think we acquired these moral intuitions, if you know?
So it's a good question. So I think if you were to ask the vast majority of people, are they okay with animal abuse? They'll probably say no. They'll talk about.
Quick question though. Abuse is often defined as wrong by definition. I don't think anyone can be like for abuse.
Okay.
Like,
okay, cool.
I don't know.
Shall we say unnecessary violence towards animals? Can we say that?
That might be kicking the can down the road, but we can go with that for the sake
cool.
of time.
So to answer the question, if I was to ask people if they are okay with unnecessary violence towards animals, they would say no. They will then justify their consumption of animal products by going down a series of fallacious arguments regarding nature, regarding nutrition, regarding other kinds of plants have lives, plants have feelings, etc., etc., etc. They use quite a lot of kind of not excuses, but not very good arguments to kind of cover over the fact that they are participating in such an unnecessary abuse of animals. And that is where I say you are acting inconsistently with your value judgments. So I hope that answers that question. Sorry, and the other question was, do you think it's part of an objective framework that we should be acting?
Well, I wouldn't say objective. I said shared intuitions. Like it's intersubjective, right? We can say that we've always been socialized into certain norms and values. It's just that is there like a I was thinking more. I was asking like, is there a way that you think we've acquired these values? Like more of like certain metaphysical notions about morals themselves.
Yeah, I think these value judgments are maybe evolutionary psychology. Sorry, down to evolutionary psychology in terms of we have a capacity for empathy for a reason, and that is to create deeper and stronger bonds with other people. But I think that that kind of capacity for empathy comes into our decision making when we say, is unnecessary violence against animals a good thing or a bad thing? Do we like that? Do we like participating in that? So that's. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, yeah. And final note before I let the person. Do you think it's possible that if a person says that, oh, well, I'm not okay with unnecessary harm for animals, but have these inconsistencies, do you think it's possible that maybe people may not be as opposed to violence towards animals that are necessary as maybe once thought? Maybe it's certain like wording choice. I know word choice can have a huge effect on what people say or do as far as certain things. Because I know if you ask people, do you think killing animals for food is morally wrong? They would likely say no. So do you think that it's maybe possible that certain word choices or certain semantic things might be the difference as far as why people say these things? Or
I suppose our wording will have an effect on the person's reaction, but we can still describe things in a objective and perhaps cold language, which will be able to still point out these inconsistencies. For example, if a person says, "I'm okay with eating animals for food," we'll then ask, "Why do you want the food?" If it start giving me some nutritional bullshit about needing to eat meat, I'll correct them on that because that's not true. If it's down to pleasure, then I will ask them, "What about bullfighting? Do you think it's okay to support bullfighting?" And they'll say no. They're likely to say no. And from there, it's like, well, what's the difference between deriving pleasure from the entertainment of watching people fight bulls and deriving the pleasure from eating meat?
yeah, again, I suppose it's possible to find a contradiction. I just think so, but I mean, of course, the problem is when there's people if people eat meat for reasons outside of pleasure, that might have some issues. And if people are okay with bullfighting, that also might have issues. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
think
would
that's
also have issues. So, Conan, do you want to respond to any of that because you were the debate opponent? You got anything to say about any of that?
Yeah, sure. I want to say that it is perfectly acceptable and normal for people to want and to like activity A and not like activity B for no obvious reasons. They can simply like eating animals and not like seeing them fight. And I also believe that most people don't actually think about what their values are. They go what they feel at the moment, and they have terrible uh, trouble with discerning what feelings they actually have. And I also want to say that morality has three evolutionary purposes. First, need to be attentive to the needs of your young because you are a mammal. Second, it warns you of danger. Third, as Pat said, it gives you a better connection with your group mates because on health of your group mates bets your own survival. And if it doesn't serve one of those purposes, purposes, and perhaps some other which would be useful to you, I think that your empathy would be misplaced. That you feel empathy for quote unquote noble reason.
Superb. Thank you for your contribution to those questions. I believe next in the queue was Mr. Zoom. Zoom, you had a question.
I did for Thought Bat.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so Thought Bat. I did need to leave while you were explaining this, so maybe it's already been answered. But I was curious to know what you meant when you said you believe in moral subjectivism, but you reject morals being arbitrary. I don't quite know how this can be reconciled.
Okay, so morals are not necessarily arbitrary. To say it's arbitrary means it's based on absolutely nothing. You may as well just put it into like a random number generator and pick your moral standards from there. Subjective morality is more to do with it's based on your value for life. It's based on the pursuit of a better life for you. Now that can differ from person to person. It's relative. It's subjective, let's say. But it's not random. It's for example, it's because it's not possible to ever say people will benefit from jumping into a fire. I think that's a silly argument to make. But it is still dependent on your own on what does actually benefit you, if you know what I mean. If it's dependent on what benefits you, then it's not arbitrary.
Okay, so I understand that it kind of can come down to how we're defining arbitrary, but I still think that what you're saying is a little bit in contradiction to how subjectivism is traditionally defined, because you're saying jumping in a fire wouldn't benefit anyone. It's presupposing that this person values pleasure and rejects pain, but they may not do that. That in itself is a subjective intuition that could be rejected. So do you see what I'm saying?
I do see. So you're saying that someone will possibly benefit from jumping and dying in a fire?
Yes, they want those consequences.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, ethics is with regards to what actually does improve your life. So that's still it's regarding how it relates to the subject, but I don't know. Are we really going to say that people derive pleasure from burning in a fire? Do people value pain? I don't think so.
I mean, that's just a natural entailment of subjectivism, that people could do that and you couldn't really prove them, or if they did do that, you couldn't really prove them wrong. You'd have no way to. It's subjective.
You understand that we can make general assumptions about most people. Like, for example, if I said humans have 10 fingers, let's say, and you come in and say, no, thought about the actually some people have 9, some people have 11. Okay, but generally speaking, most people have 10 fingers. The same way I still apply it and say most people don't want to burn in a fire. Most people are badly affected by jumping into a fire. So it'd still be, it's not arbitrary. It's still based on what values them. If there is a person who does derive benefit from, does derive pleasure from being burnt or has value for being burnt, then of course that wouldn't be moral. Sorry, that wouldn't be immoral. But it's just that I doubt there are many people who do.
Okay, I think that's a more respectable position, and I can understand that point of view. I'm more bringing this up because when it comes to these debates on veganism and on ethics of this nature, I do notice that people can sometimes name their traits or give their values for why they're not vegan, and a common response is that's so arbitrary. And I find that to be a very kind of strange response coming from moral subjectivists anyway, because I mean, essentially that's an entailment of subjectivism, is that people can value what they want to value and not value what they don't. And that there's no real objective way to hash out like moral disagreement. So I was just wondering your thoughts on that, because when I heard you say I believe in subjectivism but not in arbitrary ethics.
Yeah, so Yeah, I don't usually I don't typically use the name the trait argument because I think there are traits which can be named. For example, the ability to reciprocate rights, which is why I don't think animals have rights. By the way, I don't think animals have access to mutual rights because of that trait. They can't understand and reciprocate them. But yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you for the question. I hope I answered it efficiently.
I think you've answered it well. No problem.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. Connan, do you want to chip in on that? Because this is how we do it. You get to reply if there's anything you want to chip in.
I think my position on this question is clear, and there is no need for me to say anything.
No problem. Superb. So, does anybody else in the VC have a... Let's just go down the list. This is the easiest way to do it. Conan, obviously not. Mr. Coles has already spoken. Paradigm, do you have anything for either speaker? I don't know if you're able to mic up or not. Give you a couple of seconds. Guess not, at least not immediately. Paddy, do you have anything for either speaker?
No, I just listened. I would like to say farming is based, and that's it.
Okay, thank you for the contribution. Phoenix Compilations, do you have anything for either speaker?
No, I came in late, so I really don't understand the full conversation fully, but yeah.
Alright, no worries. Next one is me. Well, I could start up a whole storm, but I'm not going to. Mumzilla, do you have anything, Sarah?
She may not be able to mic up.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
She said nah in the chat.
Okay.
This time.
Snugs, do you have anything for either speaker?
He said no, or she said no. Sorry, Snugs, I don't know what you are.
Next one is Thought Bat, and he's part of the debate, and Zoom has already spoken. So, okay, I guess we can probably close this quote-unquote debate off, if you guys are okay with that, just so that I can stop the recording. You can talk for as long as you want, like, no issues. You can stay in here for, like, a million years, not a problem. But I will now stop the recording, unless there's anything that Connan or Mr. Bat wants to say further. Is there anything?
No, other than thank you all for coming. Thank you, Connan, for taking the time to talk to me. And I hope you found this informative. It's the end.
Superb. Right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. You guys are not going to notice any difference in the